Hello, 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 and welcome to another One Lion of Code. I am One Lion, and today's Friday, and you know what happens on Friday on this stream? It's Community Day. Took me a little bit longer to get prepared, but not too much longer. So, I am almost fully there. Scroll down, push buttons. My video, the voice channel, start my virtual camera, and stream room. All right, good to go. So welcome in if you've never been here. My name is One Lion. I work on .NET applications, and coming up starting on the next stream, I'll be working on my actual day job on stream. We're going to keep to the same schedule for now, but I may add some extra time, and then I may add Tuesdays and Thursdays, but just know that there will be more times when I will skip a Tuesday and or Thursday stream. Yeah, that's kind of about the stream. So like I said, we do .NET development, usually using Blazor. I do use a couple other technologies, a couple other project types, and yeah, we're gonna have fun with that. But for now, let's just hop on over to the desktop, because on Fridays, as I mentioned, we do Community Day. And what Community Day is a day when you get to ask questions, focus on topics that you want to talk about, maybe projects that you're working on that you want to go through or show off, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with self-promoting your streams, showing off your work, talking about things that you enjoy. Just try to keep the topics related to our stream content. So yeah, development stuff. Hello, tbdgamer. Fantastic stream this morning. Early shout out for tbdgamer. We'll get one going for Mojo as well. I'm going to keep shouting you out, Mojo, because I really do enjoy your streams when I'm able to catch them. But I definitely do not want to make you feel like obligated to stream or anything. I know you're busy and I have a lot of stuff that you need to take care of. And DFlux, hi, how are you? I'm obligated. You mean obliged. Much obliged. Oh dear, I almost blew some snot out of my nose. You absolutely can. I will bring you on in 3, 2, 1. Hello, hello.
Hello, let me mute your stream. Can you, I'm going to say words so you can get a
you sound great.
Good handle on my words and my volume and all that. All right, great. You sound wonderful too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I don't think that was the purpose, but hey, might as well exchange compliments. Right.
When's the mass shared stream? What mass shared stream? I didn't know there was going to be a mass shared stream.
Well, that could happen.
Adding the fourth item to a table to get one menu item working, as opposed to just adding a line of code to a razor file to add a menu item. Okay.
Oh, I see. He's doing a lookup. This is kind of like a lookup. He's saying he's adding tables for it rather than hard coding, I suppose. I suppose.
A stream together day. Well, we can do that on community days on this channel. For sure. But of course, going forward, I will be very focused on the work that I'll be doing on stream. Because that's going to be my official stuff.
So, what is... I saw something about bot remake. Day 33 of the bot remake. Is that happening?
Like, we rarely ever touch the bot on community days. Because I get so wrapped up in the verbal conversations.
All right, well, hold on there. Why is iMessage underlined?
I have no idea. So I pulled over.
It's missing something.
No
Okay.
way. I pulled over a whole. Wait, no, it's right here. Bot command. Bot command. And you're the same types? Maybe they're not the same types. Like I'm pulling
this
over
is the
open.
classic.
Yes.
You're probably pulling an iMessage from a different namespace than what you think.
Yep. So this was all originally tbdgamers, or I just don't have the right reference in this one. tbdgamers bot, because he did a whole bunch of work already on turning all of the models from the Twitch API into there goes the neighborhood. Turning all of the API models and descriptions and stuff into classes and interfaces and structuring it and making it to where the core part of the library is pretty good, but he just didn't actually implement any of the, well, I don't know what all he has or has not implemented as far as connecting to Twitch, but he kind of stopped doing work on it and he showed it to us. I was like, can I use that? He's like, yeah. And then he felt
so now's the time, now that it's handed over, for you to rewrite all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
All of it.
And I'm not like rewriting it, I'm just restructuring it. I'm pulling stuff from his library into a more generic way. So his is like specific to Twitch, and I wanted to genericify it to be YouTube and Discord.
Wow. Okay. TBD says delete's the best key to use. That's harsh, but maybe true. Harsh, but true.
Nonsense.
Yeah, we keeps it real.
Yeah. Oh. Wait, didn't you put an S on there? You missed the S. Keeps it real.
Oh, we keeps it real, and then
keeps it real.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is me like completely skipping over chat when
DFlux. We're completely ignoring DFlux streams.
Not on purpose. I was looking for the waiting. Anyway, I'm pulling you in, DFlux.
Whoop whoop.
And you are here.
Rock and roll. I came here especially to rant.
Okay. Ranting is allowed. You know that.
Before you do, can I give one task? There are icons are not in the top left of the screen. I'm very disturbed. Our Discord.
What?
You know, the indicator of what we are saying.
No. When did that break?
What is working for me?
No,
I'm saying like on the screen.
Yeah, like it would be right around here.
Yeah, that flew away.
Twitch, Discord.
Really weird geniuses.
Discord for camera.
All right, you can go now. I just wanted to.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. I think I'm really starting to hate my job. Is where I'm at, man.
Okay.
Like I said, like the what I'm working on right now is like you have to add 4 rows to a table to get one menu item and this is 2 different tables. So 2 rows to one table, 2 rows to another table to get one menu item to show. And it's like, oh, dude, and I'm still storing HTML inside SQL, which is just every time I do it, it makes the thing that bothers me. You know, the thing that bothers me the most. The thing that bothers me the most is that like for instance, okay, so I was moving some Razor files around, and so on Visual Studio you have that little fancy tool where you right-click the project, and you can go sync namespaces, right? And then like if there's a folder structure, it syncs it with the namespace, which is really nifty. I did that, and it changed like 20 files, because which is like I'm like, what is the benefit of having different namespaces completely different to your folder structure? Like, who does that and think, yeah, that's good, let's PR that's good? Like, I don't.
There are some benefits to it, I will say that.
Okay.
Like
I'm not.
if you
I have no opinion. Go ahead.
if you're wanting to like make it easy to get access to objects and methods and stuff, and they're in different projects or even in different solutions, you still might namespace them the same, so that you only have to put one using and then have access to all of those objects.
Yeah, no, I mean
As an
all of these. It's a good example. All of these were basically like they just renamed the folder and they just didn't update the namespace.
Yeah, Microsoft does that. And we had a conversation about that too, where it's not always great because then you're kind of like, which NuGet package does this come from?
Right, I've
Because-
experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
As your
And the other
weekly
thing-
JetBrains ad, just JetBrains ad real quick. ReSharper has really good support for moving folders and moving namespaces. Just want to throw that out there.
I like
this has been your JetBrains ad.
I like the Visual Studio approach where like what I do is, let's say I wanted this command middleware up in my library. I would drag it to just an empty place, and then I would move it to where I want it, and then it says, do you want to sync namespaces while you're moving the
Oh, so they added
updates all
it.
references. Yeah, it's been there
Great.
for a while. I've been using it a
Wow, yeah.
lot.
But the other thing I guess is at the top of the list is I instinctively, like when I'm writing out HTML, every now and again I'll think that looks good, and then I'll Control KD, which formats the document, which then makes like 50 different changes because they don't format their documents, at least they won't tell me what formatting they're doing, and so I have to like go back and then undo those changes, or they won't accept my PR. Which is like, can't you just if you gave me a properly formatted document, we wouldn't have this problem. So that bothers me. It's like either give me the formatting rules that you want me to follow, or use the defaults.
Right.
Are you willing to be the person that reformats the entire repo all at once?
And then
Or do y'all have
Well, I
too
mean,
many
for
config
me,
at the same
it-
time.
I mean-
actually start with an editor config.
I mean, for me, it's like if I work on a file, I want it to be like nicely spaced. I want it to be like visually pleasing when I send it back. So
Yeah.
I always format the document before I PR it, and then then I go through, and there's like a bunch of changes I'm not essentially on the ticket to change. I have to basically remove those changes because there was like weird spaces and like just stuff like they would have like 3 spaces after like they do like the // for a comment line, and then just use 3 white spaces for no reason. And stuff like that, and I have like an if statement and they have like the they put the if statement, but they put the bracket on the same line, and then my formatter like puts it on the next line, and then sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't.
Yeah,
It's just
definitely
bad.
know that pain, but also keep in mind that visually appealing is subjective.
Well, I say visually appealing. I guess what I'm trying to say is to a standard that is uniform.
Yeah,
Right.
Aesthetically pleasing to your OCD, which is
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
I get it.
Yeah, but I'm going off of like what is essentially the Visual Studio standard. That's what the formatting tool. And obviously you can go in and adjust things if you want to stuff done slightly differently. But as a rule, as a general rule, if 2 developers that never worked together wanted to collab, you would think they would just use the default formatting, right? Just to make things easier on the other person.
or an editor config in the project.
You're right.
I think that's a big one. I like those.
But I mean,
Yeah.
if it's like a brand new team or an existing team starting a new project, then there is an upfront discussion of what do we want for our coding style. So you usually establish a coding style guideline.
This stuff is like, well, not inherited, but they built this stuff
Yeah.
before I worked at the company.
Most of the things we work on are legacy things that have been there for ever.
Well, and so yeah, it's just frustrating. So they're like, hey,
That
go
works
ahead,
too.
menu item over here. It should take you 2 hours. I'm like, no, because it's nowhere obvious in the code where the menu comes from. There's like this really convoluted way of like dialing into some random DLLs and whatnot, and it's like, so I can't really follow it. You have to tell me what to do. And he's like, okay, well, go to this table, do this, and then like, all right, I did that, and it's still not doing it. I was, oh yeah, there's this other table you got to go edit. Oh, okay, I did that. Oh, there's this other thing. It's like I'm just adding a menu item. This is like 2 lines of razor. Can't I just type the razor in and be done? This could have been done 2 minutes ago, like 2 minutes since 3 days ago, essentially.
So
I'm
you're
unbelievable.
on team hard coding now. You're on the hard coding team.
I've always
Team
been.
hard code everything.
Well, my thing is, and I maybe I might be in a minority, but my thing is that the repo needs to be whole. The when you download a repo, everything should be in that repository to run that application.
Yep.
So if half of the HTML sits inside a SQL database, it's ridiculous. You can't.
So you can manage. Most of my apps have had lookup tables and stuff in SQL.
Yeah,
It's
lookup table is
okay.
plenty fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but
I'm good with
like you were
lookup tables.
saying, you need to be able to pull that down and work it locally, just like in production. So I'm very serious about my suggestion to do a data migration.
Yeah, so that was okay. I'm glad you brought that up. So like when I was talking about right here, these menu changes, right? So once I've worked out all these changes to these different tables, I then have to apply this into the production database when they decide to do a release, which always seems to be random. And so I'm like, I wonder if there's a uniform way with some framework tool that I can say, when you're on the pipeline, apply this to the database. So when you're on the dev pipeline, it applies it to the development database, and when you run the production pipeline, it applies it to the production database. That way, essentially, the database changes are in the repo.
I don't think there's been a consistent way to do this since the beginning of time, but that's why I said make a console app. But if you found the .NET EF command and literally everything you need is in there, I would recommend you add that to your deployment pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, again, running EF, the update command, and then adding the table changes to the up, right, method in the migration should essentially achieve that goal, as far as I know. I just didn't know what you guys would do. Obviously, like you say, LiveEcoding, you suggest making a console application is a good approach. Mr. 119, what is your, if I may quiz you, approach?
For dynamically created UI, I mean,
no,
is
this
specific
is
to an
for
app. But for lookups, like
this
let's
is for
say that
updating.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is for updating a data on a table as part of a deployment.
Yeah, but he's saying, what is the purpose of this data? Is it basically a lookup? But it's not added with the initial set of lookups.
I mean, it could be a CSS change, but the CSS lives in a table.
I would still do
that's
data
a
migration.
UI concern in my opinion. Like if it's CSS, that again, it's not a dynamic thing. It's not something that is determined based off of certain rules that you update, and you want to be able to update those rules without needing to redeploy the application. Then yeah, database is a place to put it. A place, not the place. But if it is like your, here's an example of that then, because I don't know the full specifics still, but let's say that you have branding based on who is logged in, and so you don't know which type of layout to use, and you want people to be able to change the layout based off of which company or whoever is logged in to see. I want the CSS to say it's a grid, but the title is actually, or the header is actually a left menu. So I'm kind of getting that that's what it is for your app, for this table in specific.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of things. My thing is like what we have right now is there's a manual process where I have to so I have like 6 tickets, right? And so each ticket has like different SQL changes, and when they when they're ready to do a deployment, I have to then like basically recant all that SQL to the production database myself. And I'm wondering if there's something I can do in a pipeline that achieves that same goal using the framework or something similar.
The industry has invented data migrations for this purpose.
Yeah.
Whether or not you use EF migrations is its own thing, but because I've never used them, but I hear they're fine. But yeah, and by the way, at the last 2 or 3 jobs, we did this kind of thing, and the one before that we had Redgate for the data compare. That was okay. But like data migrations, I honestly, it's so easy to test relative to like so much less stressful. But if you're thinking about how to do that, this is like making a change to how people do things. Are other people working these tickets, or are you pretty much the only one?
Other people are working on tickets.
Well, you got to get people on board, but because yeah, writing migrations, no one likes writing SQL, but like once they figure out that they can, you know, kind of gut through the ugly SQL and test locally, like once you get people over the hump and show them how to test locally, it'll be great. But I will also say, you probably need to take a production backup and like clean it out and like somehow use that as your first migration in locally. Like no customer data, but all
Yeah,
your
just the
lookups will have to
structure.
be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you might even, for your local database, you might even want a, oh, I heard a ding.
Welcome TBD.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yo.
So, anyway, I'm ranting, but
No, you
it's
were
a big
explaining.
change. It's a big change to do these data migrations if you don't have them set up, but they really do make it so much easier to work with the database, especially on a team where, you know, all your coworkers are untrustworthy. You are of utmost trustworthiness, but your coworkers now, the band of rabble.
So, I was trying to figure out how to write this in the chat, and I couldn't do it, which is why I joined. But when you're saying migrations, so when I hear migrations, I always think of entity framework core migrations,
Right.
and I hate them because they're difficult to work with, and from a data perspective, I have no idea how I do a data migration with them. Tables, columns, you know, dropping columns, etc. I've never seen a migration go backwards, which is what they're meant to support, right?
Ah.
Done that many times.
There was a quick feedback. Don't worry
Yeah.
about backwards. No one goes back.
A forward migration is always easier.
Yeah.
Because you know the idea of entity framework migrations is you can go up and down and whatnot. But I've never seen a data migration done in entity framework. I've always ended up having scripts that are run and folded out and structured out that way. To do that. So is that what you're generally meaning when you're saying migrations? Just sets of scripts that are built for, hey, here's the data, it knows about whether things exist or not, it has the checks in it, and it knows how to upgrade the data.
It has the data too. Depends on which data we're talking about, but yeah, it has structure and data. In fact, I'm going to look at my recent app that I refurbished, so to speak. I shall not share it. It is work.
And while you're finding that, this is just a quick example of where I might use it. Dang it.
Oh, nice.
Nope, wrong database. So I'm gonna open the database that has it, but let's say that I have a lookup table, and what I typically do with lookup tables for values that aren't specified at runtime, so like you aren't adding values to this and it's using those values in a dropdown or whatever. It's a set of known values that I still need in the database because I have other tables that depend on that value being consistent. So it's a foreign lookup into a lookup table. Is I have an enum that represents it, or an enum, sorry, that represents it in the database project itself. And whenever I add a new value to this thing, which should be rare, it shouldn't ever happen. But if it does happen, then I add an enum entry and then I run the data migration, which gives me the up for adding the new value to the database and then the down for deleting the value from the database as part of the seed. I don't have RMA water.
Oh, for the record, I'm very proud of this. This goes on my resume, except when I need to cut stuff. We have 170 SQL scripts. Not the fact that it's 170, but we have a database app that has been under pretty extensive you know, 170 isn't that much, is it? It was like we have really small teams. So anyway, 170 SQL scripts, about 30 or so of which are views, SQL views. And one of the best things I ever learned at this job is a new thing called create or alter. And you can do it on a stored procedure or a view. And like if you run that SQL every time on your migrations, it will how do I say it? It will not alter the stored procedure or the view if it doesn't change. Wait, will it? Oh goodness. Anyway, the point is it's really useful. So how about that? I really love it for modifying views as well. I also have integration tests around views, which is just heresy. I'm aware of that. All right, y'all. I actually need to chat with someone right now who is not you. I might rejoin, but probably not. All right. It's been
Thanks for being
real.
here.
It's been real. I'm gonna give up on the no blockers things because I'm running out of jokes. But anyway, no blockers.
I like it though. It's still funny every time.
So, I have a sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I have a funny story that should make everyone basically face palm. So the way we do scripts where I work is when we're doing a development, if we've got like new data that needs to be inserted or new scripts, new tables, etc., that need to be added, we write a script with the date and the name of the job, the name of the thing we're working on, and put it in a database updates directory. So this is kind of your migration, I suppose, DFlux. So, and what they do is they run every script past a certain date. So they run every script. The DBAs come along and run every script as you know. When you've got a PR, it says, okay, this database update needs to be run. They run that in production before the story goes live, which you have to be aware of, right? That's face palm number one, right? So you have to know that it's going to get run in production ahead of time, before your code's ready for it. So if you alter a table, they're going to do that in production before the code to support that update is there. But recently I got asked, hey, we're missing a table on a bunch of different customers. Because what happens is when a customer stops using the software, they stop updating the database. But if the customer comes back, they don't update the database, running essentially what those database updates are from the date the customer stopped using it, so they don't update it. So I got asked to write a script to populate the database. So it's like, how do you do this, right? How do you want me to do this? You need to create a PR, but it's a script we already have to create the database. So how do I do a PR with just a script in it that doesn't work? Like, what do you want me to do? So I made a PR, I made a script that says create if not exists for this table. They took it and ran it. They just copied it out of my PR and ran it on all the databases they'd identified that it missed and left the PR alone. They never merged the PR. So my script for create if not exists never gets it never makes it into the database update script. So any future databases that are missing it, they're going to have to go back and find that script again and run it again. So
that's definitely a facepalm.
So basically, there is the migration concept there because the database updates has every database update going back 5 years.
Right. They have almost it there, right? Because they're doing PRs with. I think that's an important step. The fact that the SQL scripts are being PR'd is a big step. Because right now where I work, like they randomly, well not randomly, there's a schedule. I don't know when it is, but they just clear out the development database. So you'll be making changes, then you wake up the next day, and then all your changes have been deleted.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of expected, but yeah, that's
right. Well, it's I guess to be expected, but if I haven't kept a record of all the SQL scripts, you know what I mean? Like they're it's different if you got like a ticket there where you're supposed to change data in the database.
Yeah.
So my point was like to the human thing, right? It doesn't matter how good the scripts are. No matter how you do it, it requires people, and it requires attention all the time.
Well, that was basically asking regarding the EF thing, and I see that one line brought up his up. I see it up and down script, which that
Right.
looks pretty good, right? So I see like it almost looks C sharpish. That's
This is C#.
It is C#, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and so that's what I
and
love about the migrations. Is
right.
that you get C# code. You can modify them if you want. Like, let's say that you are actually creating a new stored procedure. You don't get that for free using EF Core, but you can do a migration builder .sql, and then you can use whatever your syntax is, create or alter.
Is that not what
procedure.
those update data? Is that not adding data? You're saying?
These are adding data,
Or-
but this is like if you're
Okay.
creating a stored procedure in the database, but you don't have anything representing it in your data. Well, I mean, even if you had something representing it in your database context, like let's say you had an extension method that is to run your stored procedure for that. For example, a stored procedure that outputs a CSRG problem report, you could have an extension on CSRG problem report dot, and then whatever the name of the stored procedure is. And then it gives you back a CSRG problem report or list of. You would still have to define the script for the stored procedure manually because your migration would be completely empty.
Right. I'm not doing anything even complex like that. I'm just working
Right.
up the best way to add data to a table.
Yeah. And this was me bringing this up for the thing that I was telling TBD about the up and down data. So
Yeah, that seems perfect. That seems exactly. I'm going to take a screenshot before I have a
all that I did to get this though was I created an enum that has whatever. What is this one? Look up flow type. I don't know.
Oh, so that's not even.
Types.
You didn't even type that stuff out. You create like a
correct.
script and create that.
Yeah. So I have an enum, and then I have a helper for that enum in my seed data that says, not this one. I don't know which one of these is my enum. Seed well-purpose types. That's what we're looking at. Go through all the enums.
That's exactly that syntax and that's what I was envisioning, where you have like a method for each table where you basically put seed data in.
Yeah,
and it tries to like basically overwrite that to the database every single time there's a build.
Well, it doesn't. Not every single time is the build. It only does it once on the migration. So with this has data, let's say I was actually adding a record. We're getting a new system report ID that is not being added via the actual application. We're adding it to the database. I would do it through a migration by adding a new record here. Most likely.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'd have to figure all that out. But then when I do a add migration, it'll give me the up and down for that. And the other thing that you get with that is you get to script the migration, and it does exactly what TBD said that his team does, which is it will only apply migrations that were from the most recent migration date entered in the database forward. So it won't apply the entire thing. It'll only apply the changes from
so you would say in what you're suggesting there is actually have it do the script, create the script, and then run the SQL.
I wouldn't know. I'd still use the entire tooling.
Oh, you would just still use the EF update command basically to run. Like, let's say there's 5 migrations that it needs to do,
and I'm okay with doing that right now.
You would just do and then if there's 5 migrations, it just picks up those 5 and runs it through.
Yeah.
And obviously, if there's a problem, it spits back out.
And so what this one should have done is, because I didn't specify anything, I shouldn't have any secrets or anything defined. It should have created an RMA water database in local DB. Refresh. Is this RMA water? Or maybe an Angie. Did you create it here? I don't know if this one existed before or after this migration happened. App settings. Local DB. Well, it should have created it in local DB. I don't know why it didn't.
Yeah, that's the other thing we don't do, and I wish we did because it's really nice. We don't do the whole local DB thing. We have it's always putting in a developer environment. There is no
Things took
local, which is
soft.
really annoying.
Yeah, but I mean, I have that for all of them.
Yeah,
Manage
yeah,
user
yeah.
secrets.
Oh,
Oh, I do have it in here. That's why. Okay. So it was to Angie. Okay, good. Do we have what?
Sorry, I was going to ask. Sorry, I was distracted reading different things. On. So you have no process in place for doing these data migrations? You're just trying and save the team time?
Do I say that again? Do I have processes in place?
I think it was asking me.
DFlux specifically, because I see what you're doing. I've never seen migrations used that way. I do know that if you have DBAs, they're never going to accept that.
Oh yeah. I would still real quick before DFlux answers you. I would still, as a developer, use code first migrations. I wouldn't apply the migrations just as DFlux said through using an update database. I would do script migration and then send the resulting stuff to the DBA team.
Yeah.
And be like, this is the next migration here. Yeah,
because you have to produce that SQL from the migrations. So the code migrations result in the SQL migrations that they're going to be more happy with. The problem I've had in the past is they've always been like, it doesn't write SQL the way they would do it, and therefore they need to change it. So now you end up with double the work because they're going to go through it.
But if they're we have some people on our team that are like the DBA guys, but all these changes that I'm talking about, we're responsible for in terms of the data changes. And so if they didn't have a DBA team, would you still produce this script and like you would use or would you use like the build pipeline and do like an update database? Yeah.
I've never actually used a pipeline to apply migration, but I have seen that as part of the process of a pipeline.
So for you because you're basically working as a single developer, you know when you're going to do a deployment. So you just basically run the deployment, run the script.
Yeah. Very carefully.
which almost makes sense in my situation because there's only 3 developers. My thing is that I have to like manually write out the SQL, which is like really annoying for me because I prefer using the EF tooling. And yeah, I think having a migration and then doing what you just said just there, where you create the SQL file and that's what you keep on file and run that will probably be the least endurance their process. But like TBD said, they might look at that and go, we don't want you doing that because we can't understand the EF syntax.
Oh yeah, so I would recommend in that case that you go ahead and create your own database project that you keep yourself. Maybe have are you able to have private repos in your company or personal repos?
I mean, I can just I just have a local repo, right?
Well, if you're allowed to have company data on private servers too as well, or on GitHub or whatever. That's
I mean, I can have a local repo that's not on any.
Oh yeah, local repo is what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. So you can definitely do that, and then still provide them whatever SQL this thing spits out at you.
That might be a good way. So I could. So should I go? I could log into the server and like download a back file, right, to get everything that's like currently already in there.
Oh
and
yeah,
then do a
yeah.
reverse
So
engineer and then start the migration from there.
For that, I recommend EF Core Power Tools.
Yeah.
You can reverse engineer, although I don't see that in here. Reverse engineer.
Oh, you're missing. That's weird. How do you? What? Mine's definitely working fine. Maybe you're on an old version.
Probably. So anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Reverse engineer it first. Get your DB context, get your models, and then make your updates from there and do create a migration after doing that. which is initial create, and then start doing your migrations on top of that. Been a while since I've used Anven.
Yeah, or that, or even doing the commands is just as good in a lot of ways. But yeah, so that will probably be a good strategy because they have a lot of. That's the thing that bugs me is like I have like 6 different tickets for 6 different changes, and then I have to like store it around, and then like, oh, by the way, we're doing a deployment tomorrow. Hand over your 6 scripts. I'm like, shit. What was the changes again? What was the ticket from 3 weeks ago?
Yeah. And that is a cool thing
That's-
about having a database project in source control, because you can go
Right.
back and be like, what did I add? When?
Yeah, I should totally do that. Although I would have to keep resetting it because then every time they make a change, I'd have to like redo the redo the whole migration thing.
Reverse engineer.
I'd have to reverse engineer it, and then that'd be. But no, I can stack it, right? But that'll be just a new migration on top of.
Right.
Or does that overwrite?
No, I would do it as a like reverse engineer what they have and then add migration. So essentially, the only thing that
Right, but
needs
I'd
to
have
be
to-
updated are the database
I'd have to
context
reverse
and models.
engineer every single time I want to make any change, right?
Only if you think there have been database changes since then.
Yeah, they like I say, they run there and like every single page on every single is like run. It's like a thick client or a fat client. Everything's on the database still. So
Right.
like there's like 10, 20 changes to the database
Yeah,
every
that
single
sounds
day.
really well. I mean, that sounds like yeah, because you're wanting to track the data changes too. That's what you're talking about.
Right. I'm not even worried about the schema. I haven't asked me to do that yet. Lucky for them. Right.
Well, no. Okay. All right. I have another thought then, but TBD wanted to say something real quick. I heard you starting to interject.
Oh, no, you're good.
You're good?
They were
You
going to
said?
come with some filler because he was going to look at something.
It was a trolley comment I was going to add.
The when you're doing this, if you aren't making structural changes to the database, then and you don't think that they have made structural changes to the database either, then you won't need to reverse engineer it. You don't have to worry about the existing data in the database when you're doing migrations. The only thing that you care about is new data that you are adding.
Right.
And so when you're writing it in this has data and then you're adding data, then you only care about keeping track of the records that you have been adding, because if you change any of the records that you have added, then that's going to be part of your migration. But if you aren't touching anyone else's records, then you don't need to worry about including those records in your migration itself, in your snapshot.
Makes sense.
Snapshot. Peace. Oh, so much fun. But yeah, I still don't like it as a solution.
Oh, I think it's perfect.
Hmm.
I think that's exactly what I need to do.
Cool. If it works, then.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That way, because I'm running everything locally on my machine, right? And then I'm making sure the databases match. And then I'm doing all the code. The EF basically writes all the SQL for me, so it's nice and uniform. And I just hand that over. That's a lot cleaner than me trying to work out on their database and do stuff. And then like, you know what I mean? So I can all figure it out locally, and then once I'm together, then I can present. That might be the best way. I still haven't got them. It amazes me. So I think I mentioned this before, and it just blows my mind that. So you know how like one Blazor screen has like 20 different components on it, right? You've got the menus and so on, all that stuff. Every single component that they have reads a config file from disk prior to rendering. So like if you load up one view of Blazor and it's like 20 subcomponents or in that view, it's basically DDoSing the C drive in order to load the page. So if enough people load the page, you'll eventually have a huge pull on the disk of
so reading from disk on the server.
Yes, reading from a config file on the server
Oh.
for every single component that's loaded.
Interesting. Yeah, I would assume
Yeah.
there's some caching going on there at least. Hello,
No,
it's coding.
it's not in memory. They're reading from disk every single time. It's the
You-
craziest thing.
You win facepalm of the day there.
You said you would or you wouldn't?
You would. You did.
So you win
Yeah.
facepalm of the day.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That is-
Okay. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That one's I've grinded my gears about before. That and putting. I just wasn't. Well, that's why, like I say, I'm not too happy where I work at. They put
Even files.
regions inside a code behind file for a razor. And I'm like, we should break this up into like 3 different components. They're like, no, we want them in one huge component. Like, you realize the whole idea of Blazor is to componentize. That's why they're that's the whole point.
Ooh, can we? Are we gonna get you started on this TBD? Before we do, just so everyone knows, you've heard, if you were listening this whole time, you've heard 2 opinions, pretty strong opinions about Entity Framework. One where someone doesn't really like using it, another where someone really does like using it. Just know that everything that we say is opinion. Nobody is right, nobody is wrong. So take whatever you want, leave whatever you want, blah, 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 blah. That said, let's talk about componentizing, TBD. How do you feel about React, for example?
Like, I don't even know to start that one on.
I was gonna say, Angular just picked it up, right? You now officially, well, not just about 2 years ago, from a year or so ago, Angular officially added standalone components as opposed to their normal components, right? Which is essentially the same thing that Blazor had. They copied it.
So Angular has always been able to be componentized, essentially.
Right.
You can break, and it's been a good idea, right? You can do it. But the problem with Angular is it had this reliance on these modules, so everything got bundled in modules. So you end up with one massive file that includes everything. Standalone just gets rid of that. And I was talking with Mojo earlier on because we're talking about choices of framework and whatnot, and I don't fully understand how standalone changes Angular structure and what is idiomatic. For me, I like Angular.
So you're saying you don't understand how the standalone component changes it?
I don't understand how it changes it for me right this second. Like, what does it mean? I understand that I can build I use standalone components now because there's things like select lists and combo boxes and stuff that I reuse in the application. Those are perfect standalone instances, right? Components that you start to build a common behavior around, those are standalone to me. But then I still need I still use modules for general behaviors because because of the way the app's built so far, it's not my strongest suit. But like, the problem is it gets messy and it takes a lot of time and effort to organize that effectively. So I kind of get why someone might try and bundle all samey things into one big component, because
or have, in my case, one big component that has like 3 different uses with an if statement on every single method that checks a string for what it's being used for.
That's 3 different components, absolutely. Maybe there's a base class, maybe there's some shared behavior.
No, there's nothing. It's fun. Sorry.
I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. Come on, work.
No, because here's the thing. One of my tickets is to add another use case to this. I'm currently refactoring this code unhappily, and I have to add another one. I'm like, you can just add another if statement to every single method and every single div. I'm like, you serious? Why would we've got 3 or 4? Why don't we make a switch statement? It's like, if we're making a switch statement, why don't we just? It's just ridiculous. There's no shared usage. It's just they don't want to, they don't want to componentize. It's crazy.
I don't think everybody's as capable of comprehending certain things, and once they're set in the ways and it works, especially in an organization, you work in like fintech stuff, right?
Basically, yeah.
Probably a high fear probably a high fear of failure or change.
I get that with the database stuff. I do. I get that like with like the way they currently have it set up, where everything's tied to the database. I understand that we're essentially migrating very old applications that were once on premise, and so this is how they did it. Like I understand on that side of it, but on like when you're actually designing it in Blazor, there's no excuse. You know what I mean?
Well, the mentality carries, right? Again, you're thinking of this from a cutting edge. Hey, I know how to use this properly. They're
Right.
thinking of it from here's practical. Or we can put these pieces in here and it kind of keeps the behavior, and we're safe doing this. And not everyone's.
They're looking. If I were to distinguish it, I would say they're considerably more concerned about just like tacking on a minor change to get something done, as opposed to like the readability and the maintainability. I'm considerably more concerned about the maintainability of the application. That's not high for them. What's high for them is, can we just do one if statement to add something, as opposed to can we structure it and plan it out?
To add to that, that is why I'm scared I'm going to get fired soon.
Oh wow!
Because I believe
TBD.
in organizing and believe it. I work in a similar situation where there's a bunch of developers that do want to just fit things in, and I just my boss was going through stuff yesterday and found an exact chunk like that, and I bit my tongue because I wanted to jump in and say, look, we can just copy and paste this chunk of code. Oh, why is it misbehaving? But it was safe because we didn't touch the original code. The original code is still there, right? And that's our mentality. And I've assembled a document of these things that I intend to show to the development group on Wednesday. Of this sort of stuff can't fly. You need to start removing this stuff now and get it out of there. So that's why I'm saying, like, I think I'm going to get myself fired because I'm going to push everyone's buttons at once in one mass effort. Of this stuff needs to stop. You can't leave a comment that says this is a performance issue. We need to look at this after we've tackled this ticket, when the ticket mentioned is 3 ticket systems ago. Right?
Right.
Is it
Right.
still
You have to follow up.
But you're scared to remove the comment just in case that's still a performance issue that needs to be addressed, right? So is it still a performance issue? It's a performance issue. What sort of comment is that, right? So I'm going to attack everybody without any knowledge of who wrote those comments. And same thing, right? You're looking at it from a maintainability perspective. You're looking at it from a more clean code, because you understand that cleaner code is going to give you more maintainability and future ability to adapt and change the code. They're looking at it from oh crap, if we don't do this right, it'll break the system and then we're going to get blamed for something. And I've got into many rants on the whole blame culture thing, right?
Yep.
You shouldn't.
They're definitely scared of something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, my frustration is that all the tickets that I get are like refactor tickets, and I don't have yet to have an opportunity. I've only working like what nearly 3 months now.
Yeah.
But I've yet to have had an opportunity to actually like lay out a file. All of them are like, can you just simply like, can we just squeeze this in over here? It's like, you could just lay it out nicely. Well, one of them is I didn't even like respond to the ticket. I just simply got a razor file and split up in 3 different ways, and that fixed whatever bug they were experiencing. I'm like, just lay it out, and it's easier, and that's more readable, and it's fixed. They're like, no, you can't do that. Like, I fixed it. What do you mean? I didn't even have to like understand. You know what I mean? I didn't have to go through, and they just have like silly stuff, and it's like, why?
Because it's easier for some people.
Yep.
Not everyone.
And I wouldn't mind it so much if they were using things like consts, right, and switched in this sort of thing, but they just use magic strings everywhere, and so stuff just randomly breaks all the time. And it's like, well, that's what's going to happen. Yeah.
So let me thank everyone that had contributed to this mini hype train that we got going on suddenly. And also, if you didn't see the message, I think there was one from President, not sure that was related to what TBD was saying, which is depends on whose buttons you push and how hard you press. If people that get enraged have no political power at the org, it doesn't matter how they feel, in terms of getting fired at least.
I mean, in terms of org structure, the people that I'm going to upset are technically I hate the word below, but in the org structure chart, I'm higher in the org structure chart, but it's more upsetting a bunch of developers, and
Right, ruffling feathers.
yeah, you know, they're the teams that I want to build, not the teams I want to destroy. But in the same, I need them to start sorting stuff out and not being afraid, and being
Or
like,
you could piss them off so much that they all leave, and then you can hire me to do it in Blazor.
so you know, it's software development's a challenge, and a lot of us, a lot of developers aren't necessarily up for the challenge of tackling more dangerous things because it's a job, right?
Yep, right.
And you don't want to lose a job, but you know, it's
Well,
why I'm
I
doing
don't
what I'm.
know. Nobody wants to lose anything, but I think sometimes there's like growing pains and is worth, like where I'm at right now. Like they pay me well, I'm happy, but the code shit, it makes me depressed, it makes me stressed, and that is more like, you know what I mean. That's like, if they would just stop and think about the developer experience for 5 seconds, they might be like, oh, this is not actually a good strategy, right? But you know, I'm too new to a company to really say anything, and so I can't like dictate, say, hey, like with the EF thing, I can't go, hey, everyone start using EF. I have to sort of sneak it in there and demonstrate it and talk about it. But in the meantime, I have to like manually copy around SQL commands in like chats and stuff to get stuff. It's like weird. And it's just it is being fairly picky, like just small stuff like not putting a public or private on a method. It's like, I get that, you know, you shorthand, you're running, you're doing the quick method, you're typing it out, but you go back afterwards and you say, well, this is supposed to be private. You know what I mean? It's not extra work. It's just, you know what I mean? It gives intent, fills out the document, makes it complete, makes everything look really together and ready to go.
So I think
and this sort of thing.
From that perspective, that's the sort of thing you need to start talking about. Okay, what are our standards? What is the definition of done? Are we saying that a PR cannot be reviewed unless it meets the definition of done? Yes, we should be saying that. Like these are the things we need to agree to. Why are we doing this, right? What steps we're going to take to move things forward, and why shouldn't we move things forward? It might be worth having that sorts of conversation, because you know, I've been tasked with presenting why I think one team should be basically used for refactoring the code. Right, I've got to come up with an answer for why I believe that's actually necessary.
I must interrupt you. The time is flying away. I have the meeting in 1 minute. So I will be back after the meeting. It's like a 10-minute long meeting. I'll be back, but I have to hop off.
Okay.
All right.
Appreciate you.
But you can continue what you were saying though. Still.
So basically, I want to say that one team should kind of lead the charge on refactoring efforts, right? And my boss was like, yeah, I think that's a great idea, but we need to make sure that we present it correctly. So I've got to kind of come up with something to say, here's why I want to do it. And realistically, what I'm not trying to say this team is filled with more senior developers in general than the other teams. Senior in terms of time and experience in different pieces. But it's more, you need to set a standard at some point and be able to follow that standard. But you also need then team members to support those efforts. You can't, as a solo dev in a team of 20 people, you can't just be the one trying to fix things, because you're just going to drive yourself crazy, right? Yeah. So it's more, how do we introduce change in the organization for the good, but introduce confidence? And I do think it's an organization's responsibility to reinforce that and make sure that they know that there's a safety net there, that they don't blame team members, that it's okay to fail, but we need to make sure we understand why we're failing and what we need to change to keep going forward. Because it's a cycle. We get into the cycle and we start like, oh, well, it's all terrible, why bother? And it's a feedback loop, right? We do like, oh, things are broken. Why bother fixing things? Things are broken. I tried once and it failed, so we don't try it again.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that mentality right there. That's the one that
Yeah.
gets to me pretty hard.
Yeah.
This is one place that I really do like discussing different approaches for, because I'm definitely in the camp, I don't know, in the mindset of, if there is someone that's saying here is, or I see code that is, here is how it's currently being done, and I know of a way that it could be improved for maintainability, for efficiency, for readability, for testability, all of that, or any of that, then I'll bring it up and I'll say, can we start doing this going forward? I'll make the changes to the existing code, and then from now on, can we adopt this? And then we have a discussion around whether or not this is something that is worth the effort, worth the time. Can we fit it into our priority list? Can we put it in backlog? And then, that's like my ideal of it. And then we can say, this isn't worth it, and then I'll drop it, or this is something we should pursue. Let's schedule it, get it done. And what usually ends up happening is I'll say, here's another way that we could do this that looks more maintain all the things that I just said, and then I'll get some pushback, and I'm like, I don't really want to continue working on the code this way because I don't think it's going to be conducive for future work. And then I'll get more pushback, and I'll be like, okay, we're going to go ahead and do it that way, but I'm not going to be happy with doing it that way. Just letting you know. And then eventually I leave the position because there are too many things like that. And then I start working for myself.
Yeah. I'm reading Snowball's comment.
Oh, yeah. Good.
Yeah, the whole... And the code base I'm working in has that problem where people have said, oh, I can introduce this pattern, I can introduce this pattern. You cannot allow developers to just go off and do their own thing in the code. It doesn't matter how good they are or how solid it is. You have to make sure, because we have the exact same problem. A newer, smarter developer has come along recently, introduced some concepts, and I'm like, we can't do that. We can't just introduce it because other developers don't work with it. So what they do is, and it's not just they don't fix it everywhere, it's other developers come in and don't understand the pattern because there's no basis, and they adapt the pattern. So now it's not even quite the pattern it began with. It's a version of that with a little bit of misunderstanding scattered in there. So it's dangerous. So you can't have developers just doing their own thing in a sort. If you work in a team, you cannot have developers just doing their own thing. Any changes to the way things are done need to be discussed and agreed upon.
Yeah, and again, that's just one of those things where it's like, most of the time what happens is the team will just be like, we've been so used to doing it this way.
Yeah.
And it's going to be easier if we just keep it the way it is and don't make any changes to it.
Yeah.
And then we get a bug report, and it's like, all right, let's go through the whole process of figuring out how this thing works again.
Yeah. And exactly, President, not sure. They don't have to agree on them. Just follow them. You're not going to agree with everything. If someone comes along and, you can just start an argument with tabs versus spaces. It's like pineapple on pizza, right?
Yeah.
You can start an argument. But at the end of the day, you either have to agree we need to do this or we don't need to do this, and we need to. That's why I like the idea of the editor config, and I like the idea of the standards, because it's important to do something and stick around something. I'm not saying you don't have any room for individuality, but at the same time, where the individuality matters is the lines of code within the methods and how they're structured is
the implementation.
So
yeah, and President Not Sure, I definitely did stick with a thing for longer than I probably should, but it's usually because I am really enjoying the process of doing the software development, even if it's writing code in a way that I wouldn't enjoy or wouldn't do myself if I was making my own decisions. but the whole it's like a competency hit where it's like they're giving me these constraints where I have to write, I'm going to call it crappy code, where I have to write crappy code and still make this feature work and maintainable in the future. And it's like, it's a puzzle type thing. It does make it harder, it does make it more frustrating, but it also makes it potentially more enjoyable for me, even though I kind of hate those situations. But then I don't like being in those situations at the same time, so then I let them know if this continues, then I will not really want to be a part of the team that continues writing code like this. And then I do something about it.
Standards are always hard as well because I don't know how many times you've been like, oh, just follow this document, or go and look at Confluence and our standards are there, and then you're looking at code and it doesn't follow them. I think what you need is, it's not just standards, it's a checklist of things you need to do when you're doing a PR to make sure things don't creep in. And, you know, over time it will become natural. But being able to do that and validate against it before you make changes, because those documents go off to die, right? There's so many things that go off, you know, you just, oh, I wrote a standards document. Okay. Great. Every developer coming into the organization has to read it. Great.
Yeah.
Gonna follow it?
No. They're still going to fall back to their patterns and what they believe is a good way or the right way to do the things.
I read that, found all the contributions. Now I'm just going to do my own thing anyway because everyone else did. Right. It's a config. Yeah.
The other thing that like I would bring up during this conversation, but I'm not bringing it up now, is the whole personality type thing. There are people that just have a propensity to want to do things different because uniqueness or special or whatever. And then there are people that are like, well, I don't like doing the same thing over and over, and this is just like copy and pasting. It feels like to them if you're following a coding guideline that says here's how you structure stuff, but they're like, well, I want different because I'm bored of the old way of doing things, so let's do new things or different things. But yeah, that's
go create your own company.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I don't like apathetic developers. Well, I don't. I understand apathetic developers, whether they got there through just I'm sick and tired of just dealing with this.
Yeah.
Whether they just don't care. They're the more dangerous ones because they're ones that won't pass opinions, won't engage in conversations, but hold opinions and, you know,
and then actually act on them.
Yeah.
Without talking to anyone else.
So you can't work in a team with those sorts of people effectively unless you get over that hump. I think team building in general is a challenge. Kind of got in a conversation with Mojo yesterday about teams, and I don't believe that we are naturally solo. And it takes effort. It takes effort to become.
I want to join your club of being a solo developer.
It takes effort to be an effective team. It doesn't take effort to put a team together. It takes effort for a team to gel and work as a team. And I've seen a group of people does not make a team, is what I said. So when you're getting together to talk about standards and you're getting together to agree upon things, you need to make sure that you understand each other's strengths and weaknesses. You need to understand each other's points of view and get over them. When, you know, if someone doesn't agree with you, that's great. But what is the agreement, shared agreement? So yeah, I wasn't trying to rehash being told I was wrong.
And even if you're being told you're wrong, it's just a disagreement because someone else has another point of view, which doesn't mean that you're wrong, doesn't mean they're wrong. So it just means that you have an opinion, and I love those.
Yeah, that's the sort of team that we normally end up in, Phil, and that's the problem, right? If we want to be a team that works effectively, you have to be a team that's all capable of picking things up and getting work done. and you trust each other to do it. So
Yeah. But like, I mean, so I have worked with people, individuals that we just like, even though we have very different points of views and very different approaches to things, we were able to synergize because our different points of views enhanced each other. So when Snobble is saying by team, you mean a bunch of individuals that each have their separate implicit backlog managed by the CEO, as well as their own experiences and stuff that they're bringing in. It still doesn't mean that it won't be effective if you get the right mix of people together. Yeah, exactly, if. And so like one thing that I would love to do, and I'm gonna again say this out loud on stream on a public forum that anyone has access to, hoping that someone does this themselves or has the resources to do this. What I would love to do with automated rooms is make it into a sort of venture capital-ish type of company, but not really. It's just one that has employees whose employees are all individual businesses that get to pursue things the way that they think things should be done, and then have access to other employees, other businesses, other teams that are all self-managed and making products that are in line with the mission and goal of automated realms, so that we can create an ecosystem of developers that know how to work together and communicate and are comfortable with sharing ideas and stuff. Yeah. The end. I want someone to make that.
yeah.
Or make it myself. Oh, Mojo's explaining. Basic summary of his POV. There's evidence to suggest that people are naturally collective and self-organizing. This can be seen when hierarchies are non-existent. I'm pro co-op, but I gotta focus on... focus on. Snobble is saying, what I tried to say is that we should try to work together on things just for the reason that we want to be able to take vacation. I don't really do vacations. I'm pretty good at sharing my stuff for selfish reasons, but I feel bad for the others that need to bring the phone to the beach.
The same. I word it as, do you want to go on vacation? But if I'm talking to developers, I'm like, do you want to go on vacation? Like, yeah, then you need to share your load. You need to make sure other people understand what you're doing. If you're holding on to it and you get a vacation denied because we've got a bit deadline coming up, then that's the cost of that. Because people work in that way, right? They think about what it does for them. And if you can make it relatable, they're more likely to listen to what you're saying. But yeah, I don't know. Teams are hard. People are hard.
Teams are. Yes. Agreed. But I don't think I think individual solo developers should be allowed to be individual solo developers. The thing that I find for myself is that I still would like access to resources that teams have access to as well. And as a solo developer, you're going to have to do the legwork to be able to do that and everything that you're already doing. So if I have a place where there are people that can be self-organized into teams that actually make a product or a service or whatever, then cool. But also individuals that do the same, but then have access to other teams if they need them. Yeah. That'd be so cool. Kind of like streaming on Twitch. I get to talk to TBD.
It is a good community.
Yeah.
Having conversations with others. Sorry, I'm reading the comments like
I'm like mumble.
Thinking about Jules Neville. So technically I have unlimited vacation, which is a lie, right? It's we'll tell you when we think you've had enough. That's what unlimited vacation means. Don't ever fall for that one again. I'd rather actually say I need a 7-week vacation and you don't have to pay me for 3 of the weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, like for me, for example, yesterday I took a half day and I just went for a drive. And I didn't work for the rest of the day. And that was it. And I like the ability to just do that when needed because I get the work done. And I enjoy it so much. And it's very rare that I do it, but I can understand that there are people that need that more often. Ooh, DFlux is back. That need that more often. And I would also want to respect them needing that. Tinfoil. Wait, are we going to talk about aliens? I want to talk about aliens.
Alien. Uh-oh.
I want a minor a minor gripe first. I have
Yes, please.
Ooh, go ahead.
Point releases should not break functionality. They should not change your API in major ways.
What is a point release? I'm not familiar with that term.
If you have a 0.0.0 release,
like a version change on the like HTTP header, is that what you mean?
entered the last number on your version by one value.
Oh yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
yeah, I remember. I was like, oh, I'm getting there. So these numbers here.
Yeah.
This number is like a minor release kind of thing.
So 0 is a point.
That last number, right? So from old style, it's like a major, minor, like iteration build number, basically. If you come from, right? So that last number is minor changes to the code, like little fixes, maybe some things, but they shouldn't break changes. I just upgraded Angular, and I don't think I upgraded the UI library, so it must be Angular or GraphQL. I upgraded them by like 1 point each because Mojo and I were talking about it, and I built it, and now my assigned user dropdown doesn't work, and all I changed was a point.
You should have used Blazor. There you go.
Oh yeah, because Microsoft are perfect and never do this sort of stuff.
Never, not a once.
I will say, the component libraries I've been using, they are very good at like thinking about breaking changes and doing good documentation. I like both. So the biggest, most popular ones being Mud Blazor and Fluent UI. I know One doesn't really use many component libraries, but the ones that I use I rarely if ever have trouble upgrading them, which has been nice. I haven't put it that way. I've never run into that issue that you're describing.
I've upgraded. I've now done this twice in 2 weeks, right? Because I was whining about this the other day because I'm like, don't break things with a point release. It's annoying. Like I get like API changes. Oh, that was it. Ocelot, the Ocelot library changed a point release, and their API on how you do. They changed how you do load balancing and everything. And it was a 15.1.1 release. Like it was the. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I just dropped Ocelot. But in this case, I don't have the option. I now need to figure out why my dropdown now doesn't work. It's displaying object, and the selection doesn't work. So they've changed, and it doesn't error. It's just they've changed the API of how they set up the dropdown bots, or GraphQL.
Yeah, the thing that we saw on stream was when I was doing the .NET 8 upgrade that Rollers is talking about, where I upgraded the NuGet package for BUnit, and it was targeting that beta package, but the BUnit version upgrade was a minor version number, and it was a breaking change. It's like, wait.
I'd argue if you're dropping API endpoints or you're dropping behaviors entirely, that's a full version. Release. That the number far to the left is the one that increments.
But like the thing that a lot of people are trying to do is keep this in line with maybe the framework version number that they're using.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, which is kind of silly. I don't understand why they do that. They're supposed to be independent packages. Why would they? You know what I mean? Makes zero sense.
Bring back the old 3 dot style.
Yeah. And actually,
that was build.
Yeah, definitely that. The application I used to work on was 4 but then the Microsoft Store only allows 3 version numbers. And so we kept getting rejected for having that 4th dot.
Like everything else, Semver is open to interpretation on what the rules are, right? People have different versions, like they use the format, so you think you're seeing something that's standard, but you're not. Like architecture, like everything else, it's everyone's understanding of what it actually is.
Yeah, and Snobble had the same issue. The one that I don't get, well, no, I guess I do get it. I had a source generator and I upgraded that package, and it's like, you're not allowed to use this type of source generator anymore in these latest versions. It is banned.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Oh.
What?
Yeah. I would say that would be the upgrade. Like, I think that was your done upgrade, but like the middle number, that increasing would be okay for that. Like, it's a security release. It's not a little tiny build with some bug fixes, etc. So my general rule is, if I see that 3rd number change, because all it did is go through and change the 3rd number, and they never changed any of. I went to the maximum version, and it was, in all cases, apart from one Angular change, was a 1 increase. Yeah. So that's now something I get to hunt down and fix. And what normally happens, in talking about fear, going back to the conversation from earlier on, right? What normally happens is developers will just roll back to that version and stick on it because they're scared of breaking things. And then they won't upgrade in future because they're now scared that it introduces a whole load more work.
Yeah, or if there's like a sub, like if there's a common package that one uses, you can't update other packages because that then like creates a conflict, right? In Nugget world.
So introduces fear, and then they don't do it. So then you're like, why are we on like 8 versions ago of the software? And you're like, oh, we can't change that. Why? It might break things. Well, now it's going to break things because it's 8 versions away. We could have taken an easier look.
It could be worse. Your team could be accidentally developing in a framework that is defunct.
What?
Like starting a project in a framework that's actually defunct.
Like .NET Framework?
In 2024?
In 2023, my current employee built a AngularJS application. Did I win the facepalm competition again? But yeah, that was part of the reason that they built a AngularJS app in 2023, which has officially been like defunct since 2020, I think, or maybe even before that. Maybe like no, but even before that, when was AngularJS officially retired?
Wait, what's rebooting?
My brain is rebooting.
Kilobit says in 2023.
Yeah, AngularJS
January 2022.
Yeah.
Well, Angular 2 came out in like 2015 or 2016.
Yeah.
Because we were looking, so when we were rebuilding our new system in 2015, I was looking, and we had to build it in AngularJS because Angular 2 was about to release but wasn't quite ready, but there was going to be a migration path.
Right. Yeah. AngularJS was released in October 20th, 2010, 14 years ago.
But yeah.
And that looking in hindsight, and I'm being somewhat cynical, obviously, but that should have been a red flag. Like if you get a job at a new place and they go, "Whoopsie, we actually going to build a whole website in a framework that is defunct." It's like that should have been like, maybe you guys, gotta review some things before you take actions.
Dog here's JavaScript years. It's 200 years old.
Yep.
These Python 2 will be forever.
Oh, being attacked by a dog. Sorry.
All right.
They've really been wanting to be on the stream lately.
Yeah, Loki's been all over me recently.
Doing Loki stuff.
He stands there, and so when you see him looking around, he's actually stood He's not sat on my lap at that point. He's just stood on the floor, and he'll just lean there for ages and lie on my arm.
Loki's been trickster, maybe. Nice. Is that why you named him Loki? You just knew that he had that trickster energy.
Yeah. His sister's sneakier, but yeah, Loki's he's kind of goofy though.
And I have something else to gripe about.
Okay.
Since that's all I do now. That they are. So one thing that they. It's one, you know when like someone doesn't quite know how to do it, rather than like be honest, like, hey, could you work this out? They like pretend it's like part of the game plan, right? So in Blazor you could do a certain configuration on the primary project that allows you to place route information in other projects other than the primary project, right? So you could put a route, for instance, in the component library, and it will still respect that route, being like / web page / something on the URL. And they hadn't configured it, and I'm like, hey, do you want me to just go ahead and add that in? I know that's a newer thing or whatever. I said something to say, hey, I'm sure it's just skipped over it, and they're like, oh no, we would never want routes to be accessible in a component library. And I'm like, isn't that where you going to be putting most of the code? It's like, no, what we do for routes, we put that in a separate project. Which it might be falling slightly on deaf ears for TBD, but it is, again, it's just like a misconfiguration, and there's no reason to do it. You're just adding extra work, which is really ironic because they have componentized unknowingly by breaking up the route from the actual content. So they have a separate Razor file just for the route, and then the actual content is on a different Razor file.
Yeah.
Which is, again, it's like it's just poor planning. It's not there's no need for it. It doesn't add anything to the application. It just weird. And then the other thing is the gripe about is inside the component library, they don't just have the component library in there. They also have things like their database stuff in there, which is not whether the component library. That's not, you don't put your database stuff inside there. You put that in a separate project, surely.
Yeah.
In both of our opinions, I agree with that.
Right, but like let's say you want to take a component and put it inside a WASM application or a MAUI app. They've then now got like your database connection string in the project or in the
Coupling, for example.
Yeah, there's no like just something similar as that. There's no real.
You put your DB stuff in the WM Paint message handler, obviously.
I don't know what a WM Paint messenger is, but I'm assuming it's something with Microsoft Paint.
It is a Windows API for when your UI gets drawn on the screen.
Oh.
So it's even like a extern call.
Like a renderer for Windows app or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just think of it as on after render. It's a sure way to lock the app updates. Absolutely.
And I'll say one, and then I'll leave. I'll try and stop griping. But they refuse to use.
Stop.
I'll try. They refuse to use Entity Framework Fluent UI, Fluent validation thingy. Mm-hmm. They use the the other way of doing it, which is the bindings, right, or the data annotations. Which I think I think One Lion, you don't use the annotations, I don't believe. You primarily use the Fluent UI, right?
I typically don't, but I mean, I'm not against them. I prefer to use Fluent UI or Fluent API.
I think it's confusing because if specifically like for migrations, if I do want to migrate something, it's really nice to have it together, so I can go down change this from 50 characters to 200 characters. Like 3 tables, it's really easy to do. Just go table by table, make the change. But if you've got to go file by file, it seems like a lot more work.
But
And
the whole
then
point of data annotations is, or not the whole point. Another thing that data annotations are used for are UI concerns as well, which kind of doesn't make sense to put on database entity models because you most likely wouldn't be
yes,
using the database entity models in your UI. But if you are
that's
using
the
the
other
same
thing that they
models, you're making
do.
an entity framework, then you may as well put data annotations on there so that you can get the either fluent validation if you have fluent validation or data annotation validator forms.
Yeah, that's the other thing that they do that bothers me. Thank you for bringing that up. So not something else
Yep.
to gripe about is
Yep.
that they have data annotations, but it basically says avoid, don't use, ignore, tell entity framework to ignore that. So rather than like creating like a something for the view, which is separate to the database, they just reuse the same model from the database and then add a bunch of variables on that are only available on the the UI side and then get deleted magically when you save it to the database, which is so counterintuitive because you assume there's a variable there and you put it into the, but it's not. It's, you have to go open up, and then they have it split, which is fair enough. They have it partial classes, and so it's never in one file. You have to like go hunt down, is this not mapped? It's like why can't you just have a DTO? Why can't you just say what you need in the UI, have that in the UI, and then transfer it to the data side when you need it in the database? Supposed to try and like do 2-3 things into one model.
There can be no security issues from using your database entities and the APIs. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the way that I have it structured, I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about that because what I'm trying to do for this new project that I'm working on, where I want to store these are templates essentially. You're importing a file, you're mapping the columns from that imported file to a model. That model will eventually get pushed to the database. But for the templating engine itself, I want to save your configuration for if I find that you're importing a file that has the same columns, pull up any mappings that were previously saved. I don't want to make a UI specific object for those mappings to be returned from the database when really it is just go to the database, give me those records back. But that also includes their primary database ID, which I just have as identity, which is, auto increment one, starting at 1. And it's for an internal company application and all of these things that it's like, I don't want to have to create a separate set of models when really it's just following the same structure. So yeah, that'd be an instance.
Well, I have done that specifically when using NoSQL, but I still have created a separate model, put the word DTO on the end, so I specifically know I'm in the UI land version of everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not playing with data. And so even when there's like literally no change, I still do that. Just so I have all my like DTOs in one place, nice together, and I have all my database stuff nicely together and easier to utilize.
Oh, that's where it is. Yeah, so in my database project, what I ended up doing was having a pretty much 2 IDs for one table. One of them is regular ID and the other one is the GUID that's going to be used in the UI only. And when I return the objects, I return all of the objects with ID 0 and their appropriate GUID.
Right, because then it auto increments or whatnot.
And I never expose the ID down to the client.
Yeah, exactly.
If you see,
and that's where that would be.
Yeah. So I have identifier that's the shared identifier around the system, right? And then when I go to the client, I do call it ID because it matches, because I'm using signal stores, it kind of prefers that standard, but I map it from identifier. So the general understanding is identifier is the GUID, and that is the shareable ID. So it doesn't matter if anyone gets that. The internal ID, the column ID doesn't, the row ID doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly.
So if I need to recreate data, I can recreate it and not worry about it.
Yeah, so this is essentially what I would be guarding against by doing it that way too, is I have both the ID and the GUID stored in the same record, in the database, and then I only return the GUID.
Yeah.
And call it ID. So your shared ID, I think. I should have called it shared ID.
Yeah. Also, like if you start with like ID, like integer IDs, then they are more predictable, right? As well.
Right. And the reason that I am
Once these
using
in
integer
URL.
ID is for the paging. Like, I don't think I'm expecting this thing to grow to massive size, but I think that one of the best practices is to manage your index paging, which is usually automatic on primary keys for tables, in a way that makes it easy to retrieve records. And as I'm thinking about it, as I'm saying that just now, it's like I'm not sharing the ID itself with the client, and when I'm sending information back to create a new record or update an existing record, for example, I would still have to do a lookup on GUID, which then is indexed by the actual GUID itself, so I'm not saving any paging issues. Dang it. That's dumb.
I found something new to gripe about.
Okay.
They don't use interfaces anywhere in the application.
Do they use base class, abstract classes?
They do use partial class.
Partial classes, okay.
No. And did they whack
That-
regions around coding those partial classes? Because
Yeah.
that
Hush
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That's a me thing. You're making fun of me without knowing it.
Am I?
Or no, not you, DBD.
Oh.
Or maybe you do know it.
well, regions or partial classes with regions.
Both.
If your class is that big that you end up with regions in it, then it's a smell that you probably should refactor some stuff.
Well,
but-
my guys, they have regions inside HTML.
Is that a thing? Can you do that? I
Well,
do love
no,
regions,
like
though.
in the Razor file.
Oh, in the
Actually, I
Razor
think it is
files.
on the bottom. But yeah, but
Very
like
interesting.
to like break up the Razor, which is crazy because that just tells you half of that code needs to be in a service in the back end. It doesn't need to be in the Razor component.
I don't think I used regions in the bot. Probably because like this bot here, I just threw together because I wasn't expecting anyone to actually see the bot. I wasn't planning on sharing it. And I just wanted to get, like TBD, I don't really care all that much about the creating interactivity on the stream. That's not what the stream is really about. But I also kind of pander in that way where I'm like, may as well. It sounds like a fun project.
Yeah, it's in the all their regions are in the code behind. They're not in the actual HTML. I misspoke there.
I'm not saying. I mean, I know we've talked about regions before. I'm not saying there's never a use for regions. I'm just saying that a region in your code is normally just understand why the region's there and review. Should this be a region, or is this doing too much, right?
Right.
So like here, would you break this up into archery settings, maybe archery settings dot and then an inner class?
Probably create an object to wrap them up. Considering the number of times you got game area in front of those variable names, I'd probably create a relative object that would clean that up.
So those even would get their own. So like, instead that would be a public game area sizing, maybe, or size.
Yeah.
And then have these properties in it.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Because it just removes the need for the region and it reads right, and the variables that matter are right there in that class.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And yeah, no reuse there necessarily because it's very specific to this one case, but it does make it a little bit cleaner. And it gets you to the code sooner.
I like that. And then same thing with this one, game settings, we have the archery and target and all that stuff. So that could be its own object as well. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I like it. I'm gonna write that down.
What about putting random styles and just random stuff?
No
Just every now and
thanks.
again, add a little bit of spacing here, add a little,
Oh no thanks.
bit of
No,
padding
that's
there.
an Irish John. Like if you ever talk to Irish John Games about the way that he's spacing stuff, or even joke around with it, he's like, "Oh, here, let me fix that then."
There's some people that are just going to do their own things, like Settlix, right? You're not going to tell him how to code
Yeah.
because he doesn't want to work. Like, we're all talking about organizational gripes, right? Realistically, we're all talking about from the professional development side of it, and that's what we're talking about. If we're coding on our own, do what you want. It doesn't really matter as long as you're comfortable working in the code. And so, like, Irish, like, game developers are a different class in general, because some of them are learning to code because it supports the desire to build the game. They don't actually care about the code. And some of them have come from development backgrounds, so their code is different. But yeah, I don't think there's a different. I think the term would be different strokes for different folks, right?
So loosey goosey term.
Also a show from the early 90s.
Yeah.
Different strokes.
Yes.
Where do I calculate the points? Does anyone know how to read this code?
There's another smell. Oh my goodness.
Exactly, yes. And like
Okay.
I said, or like I was trying to say, I just threw this together because I wanted it to be available for the stream. Didn't expect to be adding stuff or anything. And then I added the game to it, and now I'm like, oh, well, I'm one of those organizations that's like, this is how it's always been, and I don't want to change any of the existing stuff because, one, don't have the time. Two, I don't want it to break anything. I'm afraid to change the code.
I find that with bot code, 100%. My bot code stuff.
Yeah.
Going back into that is because I've had to randomly deal with Twitch's terrible coding API. I think they're starting to move away from the IRC client now, but their APIs are still either poorly documented or just trash. So you end up like, yeah, I'm scared every time I go back in there.
So I want to share, if sorry to the viewers, I'm going to share just a little bit of code here with one line. I just want to see his.
Oh dear.
If I can distract.
Uh-oh.
Can I DM you a little block? Not to share, just for your eyes. So the application doesn't have any logging in it whatsoever. There's no console.log. There's no iLogger. But this is
Can't
their
even
sort
find
of.
Discord anymore.
This is their sort of. Oh, that's the wrong. Hold on. Where is?
So you can't share to get to
I was
witness the
never
horror
actually
on
showing
my face. That's our only indicator of how
Yeah.
bad it truly is.
Well, there. I forgot that I was not actually sharing the virtual camera so you guys can see the screen. Oops.
It's actually a rather interesting solution, but it is kind of that's their get around for instead of doing logging.
Open.
Have you ever seen that before?
Let's see. Cascading values nested in cascading values. Yeah, that's where the top level object needs to have all of the things, and you pass one cascading value.
Right? It looks like it's like a div
So
salad.
it's essentially what TBD was
root
telling me to
component.
do to refactor my thing just now, where it's like, you're gonna pass all of these objects to one place. You may as well create a new object that has all of them.
Yeah. They have a cascading value for each string. It's incredible. But even the approach of like, rather than like having, because this stuff is recorded by any logging system, any decent logging system will record all this stuff for you. But rather than doing that, they want to do this, and I think this goes to an email.
Nice.
Wow, wild stuff. But I like that. It's aggressive.
Watch for it.
Where's the summary?
On a completely unrelated topic. Yeah. So yesterday I received my brand new gaming monitor for my PS5. I got a
Oh yeah.
an Odyssey Neo G7. That was the monitor we got. A 43-inch monitor. 4K, 144 hertz monitor, replacing a 32-inch TV. That is quite the upgrade. I've not had a 4K TV before, and the monitor basically is a TV, because it's got all the functions of a TV as well. It is quite scarily different racing on that screen. So I can highly recommend an upgrade. An upgrade if you're playing games. It makes a difference.
$399.99 on Walmart.
Yeah, it's not a bad price for that size
43
monitor.
Mini 4K, 144 hertz. You've got the AMD FreeSync, which I'm not sure if PS3 uses, but that's good for gaming.
As you would
Yeah,
call him, Mr. Bucheros is asking, what do you play these days?
Recently Gran Turismo, so racing on that screen is...
TV's been playing Am I Gonna Get Fired this week? Every week. That's what gaming's been playing.
Kind of sounds like it.
Yeah, playing the firing roulette. Yeah, but Gran Turismo has been my game of choice recently. And then when I'm not racing on it, I play some baseball. Well, that bores me very quickly.
I've been playing that one game, Satisfactory. I'm addicted to that game now.
I can't pick up games like Satisfactory because I just find myself getting engrossed in them and just doing really like...
Right, well, I think that's the first game that I've purchased on getting engrossed in 4 years.
My brother today was trying to... He's like, come and play Eve because you got the day off. He's like, come and play Eve with me. I'm like, no. I deliberately removed the ability to play.
You gotta justify that Microsoft Office Excel subscription cost.
But
I use Excel all the time.
I deliberately don't. I've deliberately made my gaming PC completely unavailable because I know that if I get bored or I get like stuck on something, I'll turn around and go to my PC and start playing video games. So the PS5 is set up behind me, but it's a bit more... I can't just go and sit in the gaming chair and play a game because I'll be fast asleep in half an hour. So that's easier to turn out to. But yeah, so Satisfactory is a good game. Minecraft, I can't pick up Minecraft because that's just a day gone the moment I start Minecraft.
Yep.
So yeah, Eve is something I haven't played in a long time because it got very difficult to join as a beginner. But it's like, come on, play Eve.
With Satisfactory is one of the very first games that I've noticed where the developers are painfully aware how good of a game they've made. So every hour it warns you about how much time you've played. It says you've been playing this game for 2 hours, take a break. You've been playing this game for 3 hours, take a break.
MMOs, Korean MMOs are really good at that.
That's very Nintendo.
Yeah, and then it goes up to you, because you've been playing this game for 12 hours. I'm like, I should probably read that warning.
Yeah, you should probably read the warning. That absolutely.
Yeah, but I think it's funny that they give you warnings of how much game time you've got going on. But it is one of those games that is very 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 addictive because you have the whole building aspect. But then if the building stuff is taking time, there's a whole exploration aspect to it of driving around and digging up under caves and shit. It's kind of fun.
I have a friend that plays Satisfactory, and that's when I normally play it. He comes over, we get the PC set up, and we play Satisfactory or whatever. But he actually used Trello to plan refactoring Satisfactory. He actually built cards out to represent, and he got into a whole cycle for refactoring Satisfactory
I
oh,
did
need to-
that. I did that a little bit with Assassin's Creed. I wanted like I got like it was the fourth one, and I want to actually like finish the game, like get like the percentage to 100. So I come up with like a to-do list of like all the like gems and things I'd missed. So I go down the to-do list in like navigational order, so it was like efficient.
Yeah. So he went through and did a refactoring of Satisfactory. It's like when you think
See-
about it, actually.
See, there you go. That's what you need to come out with TBD. You need to focus your storyboard project, market it to gamers that want to really game. Be like at work, like you can do like a demo at work. You're like opening up your sprint board or whatever. You know, you're like what task, and then you can like integrate it into like the Steam system, so you can like import like the Steam rewards and the Steam trophies. Which Steam trophy will you go after tonight? And then all the planning steps to get there.
Planning item, complete Satisfactory, requirements, tasks.
Yes.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've now got me thinking about, oh, hold on, I have a games library I need to build it out to track. I don't need to do it. I can just put everything in, complete game. It's a planning item and the requirements.
Hold on, I got a call coming through. I'll be back in just one moment. I'll mute myself.
Okay.
People talking to people. Ugh.
What a call? Which that does remind me. So just since we're getting to the logistics / cleanup part of the stream, when I start streaming my work product, I will take whatever phone calls my clients have. I'll take breaks, put break screens up, etc.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know
What do
if
you-
you've watched BB stream, but like having focus time and
Oh, I have. Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of having like focus time per se. If I'm going to be streaming, I may as well engage. Otherwise, I'll just not stream.
yeah.
Peter's
I think
coming back.
if I was doing Liquid Sky full time, like it'd just be like my constant stream. Just the way I do it, because I couldn't sit there and just do it on my own.
I locked it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, or, yeah, I'm not in. It's too late.
Real quick, before you say anything, what do you think of 33% of the amount of time the arrow is in the air as bonus score?
All I know about game design is the rule. It sounds good. All I know about game design is the Civilization Sid Meier rule, where he said double or half. If you're adjusting something, double it or half it to see how it feels. So, but obviously the first one, the first time you do this is going to be tough to figure out. But that sounds fine.
Well, I'm publishing this. We're going with it.
Nope. No one's going to be as close as I got, though, to the target. So it doesn't even matter. Leaderboard.
I haven't been
is
able to
me.
read them. I made oh yeah, leaderboard. I completely forgot about that being a mechanic that we could add. I don't like
Good.
competition style stuff. I just like you competing against yourself.
Okay. Yeah, you can have a leaderboard of participation. You participated.
What is Automated Realms saying anyway to you?
To me?
I think so. You're the only one that said anything to it that I can tell. For your last archery redemption, it says, Lieutenant, lovely to see you. Your orders are clear. It's now your turn.
Okay.
Lieutenant?
I'll be honest, I don't read them.
I don't know.
All that work.
Unless it's what's the word? Trolling TBD.
It should. And it should, as it should. Oh. There you go.
you score to see your own personal highest. That's a great idea, Dukasoft. I will add it before publishing.
Napalm has an interesting point. I had an environment variable with 1 underscore instead of double underscore. This is the kind of thing that is not in a book. So
Oh yeah.
in all the examples, they show you a colon. And then, like, if you kind of dig into the code and debug it, they convert all those colons to like double underscore, or am I saying this right? Like, in some way, like, what you should be thinking about mentally, if you have a config variable with a colon in it, you should be thinking about it mentally like it has 2 underscores. And it does affect things in certain ways. Variables to override config variables, or, you know, one way or the other. You have to think about it. So, anyway, Napalm hates his life. I also hate your life, Napalm. That was me. Anyway. Oh, Cosmos SDK does create. It does that, yes. It's like an insert get operation. It will either get the thing that exists or create it. I guess it's called create or get. I've actually made a method in one of our apps that is called create or get. I'm not proud of it, but I've done it, you know?
I have acquire.
What do you mean?
In Sky, when I'm doing for data integrity, when I receive a message and I need some peripheral data, I only have this public identifier. I've got an acquire thing that basically is create or get.
Oh, okay.
It's just a thing.
Upserts.
I don't care whether you create it or not. That's your responsibility. But I need that thing. I need the ID for that.
That's not even an upsert. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's not an upsert. It's like a get or create.
Yeah.
But just please yeah, create if not exist. There you go, Napalm.
But you're also getting back an object if it does exist. So, yeah. Oof. Okay, well, we are at that part of the stream where we should start on stand-up. So for those of you that are new here, we play around and we act like we have a stand-up, but I still think it's a stand-up.
It is. Man, we got off topic today, didn't we? But anyway, I got a little distracted. I had to leave the call. Sorry about that. I will be working on cleaning up the tubes, and I have to get over there to click the disconnect button. No blockers.
There it goes. Are we going to start being cool people and call pipelines tubes from now on? Is that what he's getting at? Anyway, TBD.
Yeah, so this week was a good week for Liquid Sky. Made some good progress, got some good screens in there, starting to show its show the ideas. So that was awesome. And now I have to go off and figure out why the heck a library failed on a point upgrade again. So that's my blocker right now. I can't use Liquid Sky because of a stupid library upgrade. So
very nice.
Me.
Is there anyone that you need to stay after with you to get some pointers or get some help?
No, I'm good, thank you. I'll get it done.
Cool. DFlux. I heard you.
Yes, I'm back. Just for the stand up. So what's the
Please
first
take a stand while we await.
So the first question I got to say what I'm currently working on?
Yeah, what are you working on? Or any order that you want. Like, what did you do? What are you working on? What are you going to be working on? Do you have any blockers?
So today I got up super early to finish something that I need to present at 10 o'clock. At the 10 o'clock meeting, no one was impressed by what I worked on. And so I decided to not do any work today because I can't motivate myself to lift my finger. So that's what we've been working on today, working out how to lift my finger. It hasn't worked out. Current blockers are me, myself, and I, a lot of them. So that's 3. I need to go talk to myself in the mirror and say you need to stop griping and bitching about this code and just do the ticket and pray to Jesus that there's salvation somewhere in your future.
There
I'm
is.
very excited to do that. You can't tell.
Everything is experience.
No, I'm all right. No, I do struggle a little bit with motivation with some of this stuff. It is just depressing, but you know, that's the work your way through it. Skills, motivation, like you say, experience, sharpening the skills, and blunting someone else's head with a blunt object. No, and working things out.
Then for me, yeah, that was a good stand-up. For me, I have been still working on this mapper, this ETL inside of an ETL inside of an ETL, aka an ETL pipeline, is what we're going to call it. I have let it get away from me, and now it's overcomplicated, and so I'm going to take a step back and draw it out, write it down, refamiliarize myself with it. Maybe now that I have more information about what I'm trying to accomplish, refactoring it in an easier implementation. We will most likely be seeing that on Monday, a lot of the work that I'm currently doing on it, so try not to laugh too hard at how not far I've progressed. But that is also my blocker, is that I just don't understand it, so I'm going to rectify that and yeah, get that done, hopefully. That's what I'm working on for the foreseeable future.
And everyone that's here should go follow TBD, because if he gets fired, he'll stream more, and I'll do the same.
You'll stream more.
Wait,
don't follow me.
Oh, stream more.
So you'll stream more
if you get fired. Yeah.
No, if I get fired, I'll stream more, and then if you get fired, you can stream more. And if we both get fired, we can do like a partner stream thing.
There we go. We'll do more. We'll do more.
Speeches.
They got that shared stream thing. There we go.
Could be interesting.
I need a falls over.
All right.
That.
Well, thank you once again, Online. I really miss. I have busy Fridays now, and it sucks because I miss this call, and it's a highlight of my week when it comes to the .NET stuff. So I appreciate you so much for taking the time out your busy week to have this call. I really do appreciate it. So thank you so much, Online, as always.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone in chat.
It's going to be more fun in the coming streams.
What he said, and I will also see you later. Thank you very much. Awesome. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thank you guys for being on. Right. Awesome. Well, that was tbdgamer. Peter was on there for a while. DFlux. And yeah, all of you amazing people. And anytime that we do stand up, if any of you, and we just got rated by Will the Full Learn. Anytime that we do stand up, you guys are very welcome to also do stand up. Can we do a shout out for Will the Fool? Will the Fool! 24 seconds. I'm feeling foolish. Yeah, when we do stand-ups, you guys are welcome to contribute to do your stand-up as well. We just do it for fun. But I used to work on a team, and I had never worked on a team before that team, so then I started playing around with what stand-up feels like. Meaning we need to stand up. I mean, like, the whole point of stand-up is to be uncomfortable when you're giving your spiel so that you just want to get it done and go away. So yeah, stand up when you do it. No, you don't have to stand up in order to do an actual stand-up. Just say what you were working on, what you're going to be working on now, and what you will be working on in the future. And if you have any blockers. I did post mine in chat. Oh man. Oh, you've posted yours like a few times, but finished getting the evil API deployed. Front door and API on Monday. Blocker dude that knows this shit is out of office. This is Napalm. Did anyone else post one that I just missed? Dang it. So I'll do a better job of, not missing them. Maybe I'll add a command so that it gets highlighted when you do stand up. But anyway, welcome in, Will the Full Learn. I am actually, at this part of my stream, Because Buchero says, can I call you Frank? Is it Frank even? I'm pretty sure your name is Frank. But F. Bucheros says, standing gives me more energy. That's why I'm most of the time standing when I'm in front of the cam. Same. Also standing. How is .NET going is the question. I will tell you that soon. Yes, of course, Frank is perfect. Awesome. Definitely check out his streams when you can. You're fired from your stream. But I am at the end of my stream because I'm going to go back to my workday. This is the middle of my workday, and I stream from 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, Mountain Time to 12:30. Next week, I'll keep the same schedule: Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 Mountain Time. But I will be streaming my work product, so I do plan on starting my streams earlier and ending them later, since I won't be interrupting my workday. Instead, I will be continuing my workday while I'm streaming. But if you're interested to see what we have done on the streams in the past, feel free to check out the VODs on YouTube, and of course the VODs on Twitch for the past few streams. And this is the first DFlux is hearing about it, because like he said, he's been extra busy on Fridays, so he hasn't, or just on stream days, so he hasn't really been able to be at the streams. But yeah, I'll be going back to working on the Rocky Mountain National Wildlife Refuge suite of applications, and the streams will be longer, which I hope will not put any of you in a position where you feel like you have to be here for the whole stream. Come whenever you feel like it. If you want to stick around, if you want to chat and stuff like that, you are definitely welcome to be here. But I don't want any of you to feel obligated in any way, especially if there are other people that already stream at these times. I don't want to step on their toes. I don't want to take any viewers from them, but I think it'll help me focus even more on my work. I used to stream my entire workday, or at least 6 hours of my workday, and found that to be pretty beneficial. But yes, so that's my spiel. I'm a .NET developer working in Blazor and XF off. Nice name. I love it. Asked how is .NET going, and I'm loving it. I love working in .NET. Will the Full Learn says, nah, all good. I need to raid and run anyhow, since I need to walk the dog and eat before the next stream. Always, I never expect anyone to stick around after they raid because of post-stream stuff that needs to happen. So thank you so much for the raid. We're going to find someone to raid, and it's probably going to be Bardaki. Let me see who else is going on that I am lurking on. I'm lurking on Andreas, lurking on Sorcery Story. I'm lurking on BBB. I kind of don't want to raid a stream where it's just focus time, or mostly focus time, unless you guys want to go there, in which case. Oh, and Sorcery Story actually ended her stream. But yeah, I'll also lurk. So I'll be lurking on Bardaki, who we're most likely going to stream unless you guys say otherwise. Andreas, Bald Bearded Builder, and Canny Dev. Just so you know where I'm hanging out. I probably won't talk all that much. You'll see me later in Irish John's stream, who made partner on Wednesday. He made partner, and it was such a cool thing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen anyone make partner before, if this is normal, but Twitch actually rated him, and they were like, so we heard you talking about your partner application earlier. You should check your email. And then he checked his email and he's like, I made partner. So yeah, anyway, that's Irish John Games. Definitely give him a check. Irish John Games. Yeah, that was really cool. Definitely wasn't expected. Irish John Games. Okay, 12 seconds. That's why you didn't do it, Dukasoft. Dang. You would have been on top of that, though. Just like that. Awesome. Well, anyway, like I said, that's it for my time. I need to get back to work. I'm going to be trying to figure out to detangle this library. I thought I was putting it together in a nice, clean way, in an understandable way. But now that I'm trying to apply the rules to the values and chain them together, and you'll see what I mean on Monday, it's gotten to be pretty unwieldy. So, yeah. Okay, so we are raiding out to Bardaki, provided he's not ending his stream soon. Doesn't look like it. He's a game developer working in Unity. A lot of the people that I follow are game developers. There aren't enough .NET developers. There are quite a few app developers out there. But if I'm going to watch an app developer, I'd rather watch a .NET developer. And maybe I just haven't been looking around good enough. But yeah, so that's it. I will be back again on Monday. I will post this video to YouTube at some point after the stream. It'll be in a playlist called S02, I think. S02 Community Day plus Blazor Project, or Blazorbot Remake. And going forward, I think I will try posting the VODs of my workday. We'll see how the first day goes. Again, there's still a lot of logistic stuff that I need to do, like little marquee at the bottom of the stream. Stream time will get updated at some point. Stream titles on my schedule. Okay, that's it. Ciao.